Now, SABC reporter Mahlako Komane joins us from Thokoza on Gauteng's East Rand, where police are conducting a crime prevention operation. Mahlako, a very good evening to you. Where exactly are you? And tell us how big is the deployment? What areas or crimes is it targeting?
Yes, good evening indeed to you, Tepi. So we are in Thokoza on the East Rand, and I think we'll be just going around the area today and understand that this is one in terms of law enforcement where police really want to ensure that things go according to order. And in terms of deployment, I mean it's quite a lot of police officers that are here today, but I think also they're also joined by the provincial commissioner as well as the minister of police, Mr. Bheki, Cele. And I'm just going to be asking him, what are they hoping to find here at the end of the day, and also what are the plans, if they are able to share that with us. We understand, obviously, with operation and raids, you don't really necessarily want to be able to tell people where you'll be and what is it exactly that you know, but I understand that being here in Thokoza, obviously some sort of intelligence informing the particular operation here, but it's also a provincial thing, Operation Okaye Molawo. It's a Gauteng operation just to keep the numbers down in terms of crime in this particular province of Gauteng. But let me just get to it and speak to Minister Cele. Minister, can you just please tell us, Thokoza today, what are the challenges that the men in blue are finding in this particular area?
Well, it's important to say it's not just the men and women in blue. We have the lot of the SANDF members. We have the Metro Police. It's a really good coordinated operation. We have even the private security companies working with us. Why so, as you ask? And this, what you see here is not only what you see. Almost in all districts today, we are there. As you are saying, we are trying to reduce crime. One way of reducing crime is to get the illegal firearm. We have found one already, but for the last 48 hours we have found 30 of illegal firearms. So that's the kind of the operations that we need to do. And if we do manage to reduce the illegal firearms, we will be able to reduce the violent crime that end up killing people.
And also, will you be joining other provinces? Perhaps you have future plans to join other provinces as well. But I know it's something that you continuously do, where you are found in other provinces in terms of the various operations that they have there. Are you happy with what's being found? And I think, is this bearing fruit, these type of operations?
Earlier on, I was in Cape Town. I hope your colleagues, they have managed to see us in Cape Town. Last weekend, I was in KZN, had very good returns. Maybe remind people that today the curfew ends at 10. So anybody that thinks will rob us and want to link this curfew and the curfew that will start 2 hours later is in for a really high jump. But as we've said, mostly one has been in KZN, in Cape Town, and in this province. Our crime is directed and is generated from these 4 provinces. One of them is Eastern Cape. We have not been there. But these other 3, we have been really working on that, trying to fight the crime back since these provinces generate crime. Even the ugly crime of the gender-based violence is generated in these provinces.
And I think, perhaps you talk about gender-based violence, today in Orange Farm, 2 children were found, they murdered in that particular area. It's not the first time. In April, we were back on the same street there. Another young child, 5 years old, was also murdered there. Are you concerned about what you're seeing with little children? I mean, that's 5, 6 and 8 years old. These are the bodies that were found in that particular area.
Well, that's a point we want to make as a South African police, that not just gender-based violence and femicide, we always add in children because they are the victims of these ugly-hearted people. Indeed, no ways we cannot be concerned when our children are not safe, whether they are nabbed from the restaurant by whoever, whether they are killed on the road. We believe that the operations like this will really save our kids going forward. But I have said this thing time and again, I want to repeat. the question of gender-based violence and the safety of our children is not necessarily the law enforcement issues only. It's also the question of the friends, the question of the families, the question of the society. For instance, if your daughter that is 16 years, 15 years is not in the house at this time, don't ask police. Just make sure that she's there. Yes, if you need the help of the police, we will be there. But the responsibility of keeping our children safe, women safe, is for all of us, the law enforcement and the society at large.
And I think in terms, you spoke about the curfew that's starting at 10 o'clock today. In terms of compliance across the country, what are officers finding on the roads and in the streets?
It ends today at 10, and nobody will go beyond 10. If you want to go beyond 10, President has allowed you to start that on Monday. There's been a lot of non-compliance, especially the people that are dealing with alcohol. I went to one of the most hot spots in Umlazi. There, I came there at 12:10. There were about 300 to 400 people dancing, drunk, no mask, no social distance and all that. The problem with that, we are told by experts that this kind of pandemic is not over yet. Twice now, Professor Karim has said, firstly, he used the term is inevitable, that it might come back. The second one, he said, yes, it's going down, but we're not out of the woods. So if we are not very much careful, the second lot could be even worse than the first one. So it's important that the social distance is still there. It's important that the mask is still there. You wash your hands, and you don't get drunk and hug everybody and dance with everybody and all that. We still have to be very much careful.
Thank you so much, Minister. And as we heard there, Tapiso, I think Minister Cele just reminding South Africans that today at 10 o'clock, the curfew only begins to be midnight on Sunday, in the early hours of Monday, where people will be allowed to move out beyond that 10 o'clock phase. But as from today at 10 o'clock, South Africans are expected to adhere to that curfew, except for those, I suppose, that have the necessary permissions to be outside at that particular time. Also speaking about the issue of compliance, saying that South Africans need to be careful that we don't find ourselves going back to those high numbers that we saw in terms of COVID-19 infections, the rates and the death, the statistics going up. And I think he also mentioned the provinces that he has been in, saying that they are finding things like firearms, but it's from these operations that they hope to have, to arrest people. On the issue of gender-based violence, as you saw in Orange Farm today, those two children that were found murdered there, saying that it's not only a police or law enforcement issue, but society, parents have a responsibility to ensure that they know the whereabouts of their children at every hour, as well, saying that parents should work together with law enforcement, but parents also having that obligation to ensure that their children are safe and they are home at a certain time. Just calling for South Africans, I think, to work together to ensure a safer community and a safer country.
Thank you very much, Mahlako Komane, out there in Thokoza on Gauteng's East Rand. Moving on to stories making headlines this hour, just before we sign off. Mourners gather outside the U.S.